The authority to take away a person's income is a sobering responsibility, and it is not something to be done on a whim. Has a statement ever had more of, I don't know, emotional terror to it? This is from Patreon CEO Jack Conte, talking about their content policy and how they have the ability to kill your livelihood in a single click. And they've had some run-ins in the past with having some problems pulling people who they believe are violating their content policy. Because Patreon has this weird thing where they have their own content policy. They have the ideas of what's allowed on Patreon and what isn't. They ran into some fire in the political sphere for pulling Lauren Southern's Patreon account. He's also suspended a bunch of, I guess, Antifa accounts. So politically, there's no political bias there. They have this content policy, and he's done a whole video talking about it. They have a very clear definition of what's allowed and what isn't allowed on Patreon. And Patreon is their own company, and they're allowed to run it however they want. My problem with Patreon's content policy is that it makes them hypocrites to an extent. Patreon has always advertised itself as a bastion for creative people, as a bastion for artists, as a way to kind of take away the power from like big advertising companies and just big companies in general and allow small-time creators and their small cult following to sustain them so everybody can make a living doing what they want, no matter what it is, no matter how small the niche is. And that's been the selling point of the company from the very beginning. You know, I make money on Patreon. I used to make my living on Patreon way more than I do working full-time now. So the power of the site is self-evident. Anybody can just go look at some of the names on the site and how much money they make. If you ever want to just gawk at how much disposable income people have, go Google Sakimi-chan Patreon. She makes somewhere like $500,000 a year just drawing. But Sakimi-chan, the most high-tier artist on Patreon that I'm aware of, is in jeopardy now among other people, including some of my friends, because Patreon has decided that they don't want anything porn-related on Patreon. Nothing. Patreon is not for pornography, but some of the world's most beautiful and historically significant art often depicts nudity and sexual expression. Because of that, we allow nudity and suggestive imagery as long as it's marked NSFW. Think of the policy as allowing R-rated movies, but not porn. In keeping with our strong commitment to safety, we have zero tolerance for content that sexualizes children in any way. The glorification of rape and sexual violence is also not okay. Patreon reserves the right to review and remove accounts that may violate this guideline. This includes images, illustrated, animated, and otherwise, and depictions of rape or sexual violence within the content of a personal historical narrative or satire are subject to review. Okay, so on the nose, this doesn't really seem too bad, but I got a problem with them saying porn is bad. I understand it's their company and they can control their image however they want, but porn is art. Child porn, not art. That's a crime. And I think what should be allowed on Patreon should be anything legal. I think that just makes sense. If they want to stay true to their credo of we are a bastion for artists to make a living doing what they want to do, then that means that you have to allow anything legal on your site. And they're not doing that. They've said that any sort of pornographic content, like real-life porn in any way, not allowed. So where does the delineation between artistic nude and porn come in? Like, what about cosplay models? They take risque photos of themselves in outfits, or even sans outfits. They cosplay, and they make a lot of money doing that. Is that artistic, or is that pornography? Well, the line's a little blurred there, isn't it? So we're going to have to deal with that on a case-by-case basis. And then people who draw pornography. I know people who draw porn and run Patrons. I know people who are going to start doing that. Now it's like, well, fuck, what do they do? Where is the line there? Patreon, they can do whatever they want. But I definitely disagree with this whole, we have a separate content policy that allows legal things to not be allowed on the site, because it totally spits in the face of what they've tried to be from the very beginning. I have no problem with them banning illegal things. Child porn, disgusting. Anybody who fucking does child porn in real life should be fucking locked away, throw away the key. Fuck them. They're terrible people, because that crime has victims. But drawn pornography? Who cares? It's art. You know, who fucking cares? And again, the authority to take away a person's income is a sobering responsibility. There are people on the site now that have quit their jobs and their entire life revolves around the income from this site. So to sweep the rug out from under them and say, oh, actually, now, we're getting our content policy a bit tighter, not okay, you think you can go back to your job? Because we're killing your account. That's fucked up. Especially when you're not doing anything illegal. That's fucked up. Like, if there was a CP account on here and they got fucking destroyed, good. You should lose your money, and then you should also lose your freedom, because fuck you. But to somebody who's just drawing porn comics, and people are enjoying them, like fucking The Rock Cox. It's a story-driven comic, but it's sexually charged. There's a lot of sex scenes in it. Are they fucked? Like, they're making a fuck ton of money last time I checked on Patreon. That was like a year ago. I'm sure they probably doubled that by now. It's really good art. It's a really good story. Great characterization. Has some fucking in it. It's not artistic nudes. They're fucking. It's definitely pornographic. Are they screwed? Are they done? Is their account going to be pulled? We don't know. And this is the thing. Like they're doing nothing illegal. They have a large audience that likes what they do. They're not breaking any laws, but because the CEO of Patreon's a fucking prude, he's going to tell them you're not allowed to make money, which I think is bullshit, and I think totally goes against the image and the statement of the site. So I'm going to keep my finger on the pulse of this because I use Patreon. I mean, I'm not in any risk of this because I don't do anything pornographic because nobody would want to see me. Nobody wants to see me with clothes on, let alone naked. Why do you think I don't have my face on any of my videos anymore? So this isn't going to affect me in any way, but just on principle, I find it very egregious that this is even a thing. You can't sell pornographic material or arrange sexual services rewards for your patrons. Even if your content that you're making money off of is safe for work, like Sakimi-chan, her content that she posts on DeviantArt is just like busts of characters. The rewards are you get to see her behind the scenes work and you get the NSFW versions of them. She's breaking their guidelines, even though she's not actually making quote unquote any money technically off of NSFW stuff. Again, not illegal at all, but against this guy's sensibilities. And that's really where the problem comes in, because if you really care about artistic expression, you have to understand that art is going to make you uncomfortable. That's part of the medium, is pushing people's buttons, riding the line. And this stuff that he's talking about isn't even riding the line. Come on, this fucking baby shit, dude, alright? Everybody's on the internet, everybody sees a fucking ton of crazy, ridiculous shit, but this isn't like pushing the artistic boundaries or anything. It's a dick and a pussy. That's it. I just find this ridiculous. So I really hope that they pull their heads out of their ass with this one. The pornographic content on Patreon, it all has to be behind NSFW stuff. If you're running an NSFW account, you have to market as such, so it's not going to be seen by underage people or anything like that. You have a system set up in place already, and you have a ton of users actively engaged with the site, and their living is now dependent upon this service, and it's behooving upon you not to fuck with these people. I don't know, I think this is a really bad move. I think it's a terrible move, and I hope they reverse the decision. I hope the backlash they're getting from the community that's affected by this, and people like myself who are speaking out against it, I hope they will be like, oh yeah, fuck. Guess I'm being a little bit of a fucking prude. Guess I'm not the artsy-fartsy guy I thought I was, if dicks and vaginas got me in a bit of a tizzy. So, come on, Jack. What is it with Jacks? We got fucking Jack on Patreon, and we got Jack on Twitter, and they're both fucking prudes. Stop running companies being named Jack and being a fucking retard. That's all I got. I'll talk to you tomorrow.